Hey everybody, this is your hillbilly historian coming to you from the hills of East Tennessee, part of Appalachia, where the real people with common sense, integrity, honesty, logical thinking, and all the traits that make America great. I don't know what happened to Oregon and Washington and California. You know, when people first went there, they traveled across a very rugged plains and mountain range, the Rockies, to get there. They had what they call the Oregon Trail, and they'd go up it and go to Washington and Oregon. These were really tough frontiersmen, tough Americans. And now there's nothing but sissy boys out there in Oregon and Washington and California. It's amazing what a turnaround they've taken. I just pray that never happens here in Appalachia or here in the southern United States. You know, maybe we know more about what it takes to be a man than them wussies out there in the West Coast, and those on the left coast and the East Coast. It's pathetic. But here, we talk about real men, and today I'm going to talk about a couple of people that were very, very significant in our community here in the little town of La Follette, Tennessee, in East Tennessee. Wild Bob and Ron, that's what they went by. Bob Andrews and Ron Sharp. Amazingly interesting men. And they had a TV show, local TV show, that was on 2 nights a week, and they discussed local issues and local government, local economy, and they brought out fact after fact after fact, which always kind of went against the grain of local politicians, and the local politicians worked hard to try and destroy both Ron Sharp and Robert Andrews. Now, Andrews, he attended the University of North Carolina. Graduated there. You can go to their alumni website and check it out. And he graduated in 1954. And regrettably, Bob Andrews is no longer with us. But anyway, local politicians tried to say he never attended college, never taught school and all that. And he did. He taught school in North Carolina. And then he went into private business like a lot of educators do because the pay is so low teaching. But anyway, Bob Andrews, you can go on University of North Carolina alumni website, and there he is, 1954, Robert Andrews. But they had a TV show called Wild Bob and Ron. And they, I'll tell you what, you can find some of these shows, maybe all of them, out there on YouTube. You'll have to do some searching because it's been a few years. But there's a show out there where Bob and Ron debated with a guy by the name of Adrian Beard, who was an elected serving county commissioner. And they debated the merits and demerits of zoning and building codes. And it is a classic. I'll tell you what, now, Adrian Beard was a big governmentalist. He was an intelligent guy, but he was pro-government all the way. And he worked for Jimmy Carter's first federal education department. traveled all over the country, and putting in these Marxist, communist-controlled educational systems that would make the federal government happy and the unions happy. Now, Adrian always ran as a conservative Republican, but he, in action, he was pretty much a socialist. And they had a debate, and socialists, they love control. And building codes and zoning and all that gives them a lot of control. And they had this 2-hour debate on primarily about zoning, but a little bit about building codes. And Wild Ball and Ron just crucified this guy. They were able to demonstrate how building codes raise the increase on houses so much, and zoning increases the price of a home so much that it causes a lot of people here in East Tennessee and Appalachia where they can't afford to build their own home. The government steps in, raises prices on everything. You have to buy all these permits and pay all these fees, and it raises the price of your construction to the point where it becomes unreachable for a lot of lower middle class income level people, which is what we have a lot of here in East Tennessee and Appalachia. But anyway, that show is a classic. If you could ever watch it, it is absolutely, totally brilliant on the part of Wild Bob Andrews and Ron Sharp to the way they debated this governmentalist, this pro-governmentalist. When they get elected to the county commission, the first thing they do is they go to Nashville for what they call orientation. That orientation is for all those governmentalists down there in Nashville. Tell them how to raise taxes and all the tricks they can pull in government to rip the people off. That's what government's all about, protecting itself. But anyway, Robert Andrews and this same county commissioner, when he left Washington, he left with a big grant from the agricultural department, and he went to a wooded area, cleared the trees, and used that grant to start a peach and apple orchard, and built this humongous castle on top of the hill from his federal grant. So he and his wife lived really good here in Campbell County through the largesse of government. He knew how to get money out of the government. He worked up there in D.C. for a while. And when he came home, he brought some of that money with him. But anyway, Adrian fell out of one of his trees, fruit trees, broke a leg. And Bob Andrews organized a group of people, and I went with them. We went out there, and we harvested his peach crop, and left boxes of peaches there in his driveway. Then he fussed about, how am I going to be able to sell all this? They'll rot. They'll sit there and rot. Well, get your ass in gear and haul them to a farmer's market over in Knoxville or somewhere, and sell them. But after Bob Andrews organized this crew to come out and help him harvest his crop, then this governmentalist complained about his crop being harvested. I'll tell you what, some people, they just need to be bitch slapped all over the place to get their head straight. You do something for somebody and they hate you for it. But anyway, Bob Andrews, that showed he was a good man, great man. He attended college with that actor from North Carolina that played in that TV show. had his own TV show, and he made some pretty good movies back in the 50s. And Bob Andrews went to college with him there at Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina. And so anyway, and Ron Sharp, you talk about a genius now. Ron Sharp, he attended the University of Tennessee and got a degree in electrical engineering. And never once in his life did he go to work for anybody. He run his own businesses. His dad had his own businesses, and Ron took over and run his own businesses his entire life. And he's retired now. Lives on a houseboat in North Lake, and he's got a podcast out there now called Old Geezer. Real interesting. He talks about rural issues and living in the wild, and just a pure genius. He, when he was young, got out of college with his electrical engineering degree. The phone company didn't run phone lines all the way to his house. So he fixed him up a phone in his house, run it to a barbed wire fence. He had to have two wires, two fence, two barbed wire rows. He used those, and they went up to his uncle's house. It was where the phone line stopped, and he hooked up into their phone line. It was a party system. He hooked up, had his own hand crank in his house where he could call out, and he wired it up and used barbed wire to hook up a phone to his uncle's house. One of the neighbors had a fence down through there, barbed wire fence. He used that fence to hook up. Now, you talk about genius, that's genius. And he also had a little cabin on the side of North Lake over there. And he used a phone jack to light the house with little LED lights. And he used the current coming out of the phone jack to light his house. Now that's brilliant there, buddy. That's an electrical engineer who has the ability to apply his theoretical knowledge in a practical manner to get use out of it. And that's what education should be for. But anyway, while Bob and Ron, they were on TV here for years, contributed great insights into our local economy and local government, and they always had facts to back up everything they talked about. It was just absolutely amazing, the issues. And I want to talk about a couple of them. While Bob and Ron drove around and counted all the empty buildings in our city, and they counted like 114 empty business buildings in our city that demonstrated that our economy was really, really flat, and the government wasn't doing anything about it. Local government wasn't doing a thing about it. And of course, the government got upset with them. But anyway, one of the better ones, part of the interstate, I-75, up on top of Jellicoe Mountain, collapsed. So they were hurting up there, You only had two lanes for traffic. And so they decided to run traffic through La Follette and up the old 25, and then get back on the interstate up above Jellicoe Mountain up near the town of Jellicoe. And the city of La Follette turned all the traffic lights off, and they were always critical of traffic lights, and they turned all the traffic lights off to where they were just orange and red on the any access streets coming into the main drag through La Follette, so that trucks and cars could bypass that collapsed part of the interstate and come through Pollock, go up Old 25W, and get back on the interstate up around Jellicoe. And La Pollock was famous before this for traffic jams. Unbelievable traffic jams. Traffic backed up all the way to I-75, all the way to the interstate. And it just moved so slow and everything. But when they turned all these red lights off, that is when traffic began to flow. No more traffic jams, no backups. Traffic moved great. Schools got out on the main road okay. Everything was okay. It went fine. And of course, on the Wild Bob and Ron show one night, they were talking about how great the traffic movement was. People weren't having any problems getting out on the main drag. You know, even though if they had a red light, they had to stop and look and then go. And but there was no problem, no traffic jams or anything. And Wild Bob and Ron talked about this, bragged about it. You know what them damn politicians did? The very next morning, they went and turned all them red lights back on. and brought them traffic jams back. They could not stand to be criticized in any way whatsoever. They couldn't even stand to be patted on the back for turning off the red lights and letting traffic flow naturally. But hey, government has to control everything. Even these little bitty dictators in these real small towns, they just think they have to control everything. And they hardly ever come up with a good idea. And when they do, and they get somebody pats them on the back for it, they shut it down. But anyway, that was the heritage, the legacy of the Wild Bob and Ron show. They contributed so much to our community. And they had a guest speaker that showed up a lot. You can see him on YouTube when you go look at the Wild Bob and Ron show. His name was R.L. Henson. And he was another philosopher, a hillbilly philosopher, who contributed a lot of knowledge to the Wild Bob and Ron show. And it was just a great show. And there was a guy by the name of Wilson who also sat in and contributed knowledge. He owned a local gas company, and he contributed a lot of, and he did a lot of great things for this community, which he was hardly ever recognized for. He was a Shriner. He took kids to Cincinnati to that Shriner Hospital, one of the great burn hospitals in America. There was some local kid here that got burned in a house fire, and Wilson took him to Cincinnati multiple times for surgeries and treatment and everything. They're just some really great people. Conservatives are great people. Great people like Wild Bob and Ron and this Wilson guy and the Henson guy. They're just, and they all worked for a living. They worked hard, owned their own businesses, made their own money, didn't live off government, didn't live off handouts from the local or state or federal government. They really earned their way. And philosophically, they had a lot more common sense and integrity than hardly any local people who grew up in politics, lived in politics. And a lot of those politicians we had that run our town, a lot of them ended up in jail or probation or busted for drugs or trying to run illegal casinos or going hunting with illegal guns. They were in trouble all the time. all the time, even though they claimed they were the honest people running the city. And hey, but that is your hillbilly historian talking about the legacy of local people who try to guide their government in the right directions, and how sometimes it pays off, sometimes it don't, and they're hardly ever given a monument or a stone or anything commending them for their contribution to their local economy and local governments. But anyway, this is your hillbilly historian signing off here, and you have a good day.